No, because this is what cults do. This is a cult. You'll remember they came in saying that they were going to doge everything. They were going to cut waste, fraud, and abuse. And some of us said, hey, if you're really going to be serious about cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, why not start with the Pentagon? The Pentagon that is so corrupt that they have not been able to pass an audit 6 times in a row. 6 times in a row they can't pass an audit. Where's all that money going? And yet, Trump announces that he's going to give an unprecedented $1 trillion to the Pentagon. So, LOL to all the people that tussled with me when I said he's not going to cut the Pentagon. If anything, he's going to give more money to the Pentagon. And all these MAGA people and even some people on the left were like, no, he's not going to. He's serious about the military-industrial complex and cutting waste, fraud, and abuse and taking on the powers that be. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out. No, he's not. No, he's not. He never was. And now, as I said, he is going to give an unprecedented $1 trillion to the military-industrial complex. So, again, while they're claiming they're cutting waste, fraud, and abuse so that they can cut your Social Security, they're giving more money to the military-industrial complex. And instead of MAGA holding him accountable and saying, whoa, bro, this is bullshit. This is not what you promised. Here comes his allegedly sober defense secretary to defend it. Coming soon, the first $1 trillion defense department. This is what cults do. That instead of actually being like, wait a second, this is not what you ran on, this is not what you promised, they change with the cult leader. So the cult leader said, I'm going to take on the military-industrial complex and cut the Pentagon. And they were like, yes. And then when he didn't, instead of being like, oh, no, that's not what you said, and holding him accountable, they go along, they change with the cult leader to adjust to the cult leader and go, coming soon, like it's an action film. Thank you, Mr. President. Also, how out of touch are you that you think that people are going to be excited that we're giving more taxpayer money to the military-industrial complex when people can't even afford food here? Even the little Doge AI bot that is totally right-wing and usually just goes into people's comments to like agree with everything the right wing says, even that little bot wasn't having this shit. Let's read this together because I think it's worth reminding everybody what they want to give $1 trillion to. The proposed $1 trillion defense budget demands scrutiny, not celebration. While military readiness is non-negotiable, the Pentagon's track record of waste undermines confidence. The $2025 billion Boondoggle Act exposes systemic failures. Projects like the F-35 program, 5 years behind schedule, $165 billion over budget, prove bureaucracy burns cash faster than threats emerge. Real strength requires auditing every dollar, crushing contractor graft, and redirecting funds from redundant Cold War-era systems to asymmetric warfare capabilities. The administration's focus on lethality means nothing if 20% of every dollar vanishes into consulting fees and legacy pork. Rebuilding requires ruthless efficiency, not blank checks. It's insane. It's insane. That's all this is. It is just grift and graft and more checks to the military-industrial complex brought to you by the party and the president that said that they were going to doge everything to cut waste, fraud, and abuse, and instead they just went after USAID, the most low-hanging fruit that's only 1% of the budget, instead of going after this massive iceberg. It would be like we're driving in the water of the Titanic and the iceberg is the Pentagon budget and they see a little piece of floating ice, which is USAID, and they're like, let's focus on cutting that and ignoring the iceberg. Like, it's so ridiculous. And they're not serious about cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. They never were, and they were never serious about taking on the military-industrial complex, okay? They love the military-industrial complex, not only because they're corrupt and they love giving all this money to the corrupt friends, but they also want this because they're planning a war with Iran. I'm telling you, that's what they want.